Well, hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and you're on misplacedstraws.com where music comes to life. And my guest today, I think at one interview recently, we referred to him as the patron saint of misplaced straws. Not only is he a great singer, but he's a great person. I'm honored to call him a friend. He is here for the 10th time, believe it or not, this time to talk
I
about
don't know
his
if you can hear.
amazing band Wet with Eric Martinson and Robert Saul and their new record Apex, which is out on March 28th. Please welcome back the one and only Jeff Scott Soto. Welcome back.
Hello, Mr. Jeff, yourself, the two Jeffs. I love this because I don't have to worry about remembering your name.
Exactly. That's why we've done this so much.
I don't accidentally call you Menunthum or Zoltar or something.
So, Apex, the fifth Wet record since 2009, but the first since retransmission in 2021. With
Yeah,
you based in LA and the guys in Sweden, and all of you guys having these crazy schedules, logistically, how hard is it to put a record like this together?
it's mostly timing is mostly the difficult side. The creative side is not the concern, especially because of Wet. We have years in between albums. We have time to actually write songs, sit on songs, and not that we necessarily are writing every day or within the 3 or 4 years it takes in between records. We do focus on the writing and then make a new album, but it does allow us the opportunity to garner other influences and other things that we normally haven't done with past Wet songs and say, if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have this song. If it wasn't for this, we wouldn't have that song. And so that allows us to even, I guess, progress creatively as opposed to this being our one and only band. And we just,
Yeah.
when the process is there, then we pull our resources and influences together. This is a constant building of our own arsenal of influences that we are now able to put into Wet when it's time to actually do it.
Well, and that's the thing. When it comes to creating a Wet record, I mean, I know Eric does a lot of the writing, you do quite a bit. For you personally, do you get an idea at some point in between records and say, I want to save this for a Wet
You're
record because it's
frozen
going to be
here.
perfect, with Eric and Robert? Or
Yeah.
do you write based on Eric, giving you a bed of something?
It's kind of a combination of both. Um, I've never been a solid writer or contributor of the Wet material. I've dabbled here and there when Eric has a song and maybe his collaborators either too busy or not giving him the right feel lyrically. He'll send me something with melodies and kind of mock lyrics as he's singing them, and usually I get stuck with his vowel sounds, and I'll emulate what he's.
Yeah.
There was a song on the third album called "Heart Is on the Line,"
Yeah.
and he sent me the original version of him kind of singing the la-las, but he doesn't just go la 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 to give me the idea. He always does mock lyrics, and I remember the title of that was "Rock Me Caroline." I'm like, what? How am I going to write a song called "Rock Me Caroline"? And it's more of a ballady type of thing, but that was just his throwaway lyric. But it was so stuck in my head, I couldn't write "My dog has gone to bed." It doesn't. Vowel sounds are so important when you're listening to melodies that they stick with you. So Rock Me Caroline" turned into "Heart Is on the Line." You can almost sing them
Very close.
phonetically
Yeah.
the same way, but obviously "Heart Is on the Line" is a little, it had a little more something you can actually write about as a "Rock Me Caroline." Where's this gonna go?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I do get the majority of the stuff already pre-written from Eric. He's pretty much the overseer. He looks from the very beginning to the very end. He's very, very important from the sound to the production and the sound to the quality of the songs to the direction of the songs. It just everything. He's really the overseer. He's the puppet master, so to speak, of Wet.
It's mentioned the first record was out in 99 and it was sort of like an instant
2009.
classic in that genre.
You said 99. It was 2009.
Or 2009. Yeah, we're not at that old. But and each record since then, I think has gotten better because you guys have just gelled as a band.
Mm.
It's no longer this collection anymore. It's a band now. And what I love about Apex is you can't take those songs and put them on a JSS record or put them on an Eclipse
An
record.
Eclipse album, right?
These are wet songs,
Right.
and I think that's what really makes this record special. Is you've really gotten to that point where this is its own band. It's not a collection of musicians.
Well, the hardest part about continuing or doing, especially springboarding from something that is successful or well accepted, like the first album, the first Talisman album, to this day, everybody will always say the first one was the best. You can say that about so many bands. There are a lot of people that say the very first Van Halen album was the quintessential ultimate Van Halen album. I always try, we as artists always try to not only bring you in for the ride, but to stay with us on the ride. And so many fall off or drop off because they say, it just doesn't have the same magic as the first album. That's not necessarily our fault, because if the first album was so received and well received as it was, then we struck gold. We were drilling into the ground and oil started spewing. And to actually continue that oil spew, you either have to keep repeating yourself and just keep making the same record over and over, which you get criticized for, or you have to expand and show different sides and creativity and other influences, which you also get criticized for. So as the artist, it's really difficult to find that fine line of give them what they're expecting, but also show them growth and show them that we're not just repeating the same thing over and over. Or, for instance, there are some songs that sound like Talisman could have done them, or JSS could have done them, a JSS song. That is not by design. That's just naturally by accident, because it's who we are. It's what we inject to our own music. But on the other hand, we always have to think we have an audience for a reason. Now we have to try and keep that audience happy, but we also have to show them that we are not just puppets, that we're not just just doing what we're expected of, that we actually are doing something that we enjoy doing, and you can hear it and feel it. And you don't always get that. I to this day, I have a few people that say, yeah, the new album's all right, but you'll never beat the first one, because we're not trying to.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of along the lines of that growth. I mean, while it's still really melodic, Apex definitely feels a little heavier, feels a little more rocking than the others. And the song that really stuck out to me, Pay Dirt, I mean, it has that great, it has that funkiness that,
Right.
kind of feels like your influence on it. And I don't think I've ever heard Wet do a song quite like that. Is that just sort of, again, just that natural growth and evolution of the band?
That, and it is also Eric realizing and understanding that we can't, as I just said, we can't keep just repeating ourselves. Of course, you're going to have some things that are reminiscent of earlier stuff here and there. That's unavoidable. But on the other hand, he might have a song like Pay Dirt and say, who would this fit better? Would it be an Eclipse song, a Nordic Union song, or a Wet song?
Now, I mean, Eric's an amazing singer as well. And, a track like, House on Fire is that classic wet sound of both of your voices coming together. Now, I assume you guys record remotely. Is it difficult to sort of find that sweet spot of where your voices are when you're not in the room together? Or you guys got that down?
Not at this point. Maybe on the second album, when I came up with the idea of Eric should do, because as I said, he sends me all of this stuff already kind of mapped out. He'll send me lyrics that were co-written by the guy that helps him write his stuff with Eclipse all the time, or with other writers. And then he'll demo it and he'll send it to me. So from that, I now have to put my version of what he's sending me. So it's not, I don't sound like I'm trying to be Eric Martinson or trying to sound like Eric Martinson or even using his nuances. I want to put my own stamp and make it sound as if I actually co-wrote it and created it. The same way somebody like Freddie Mercury, for instance, would sing a Brian May pen song or a Roger Taylor pen song or a John Deacon song. At the end, it sounds like Freddie co-wrote that song because of his input. And I try to do the same thing with Wet. That being said, it's it gives us it gives me a chance to kind of, like I said, to put my own stamp on somebody else's thought, somebody else's lyrics, somebody else's mindset that I wouldn't necessarily think of or put on that song myself.
We mentioned you just got off the Monsters of Rock cruise, and you actually got to play with Eric and the Eclipse guys and play a couple of these songs. What was it like to play them live?
Well, we did a stripped down version of This House is on Fire. It was thrown last minute. When I play the boat and those guys are on, I always invite them. It's a given that I'm going to get them on stage with me, but that's not necessarily the case when Eclipse plays.
Mm.
And I never expect them to invite me. I never expect, hey, I'm here. Why aren't we doing something
Yeah.
together? And I think they got pressured by people on the boat. They got they got pushed by too many people saying, "Oh, you can do something, Jeff. You can do something with Jeff," because I wasn't doing Soto this year. It was only me and Bealers. There was no bringing them on stage with us like I normally do, and it was a last minute decision. I ran into Eric at lunch the day of that show, and he goes, "Hey, what do you think about doing a little bit of House on Fire?" I'm ready. Let's do it. I still remember it well because I just shot the video and I had to do multiple takes over and over. So
You mentioned just shooting the video for This House is on Fire, and there's a little bit of controversy when you mentioned the video online about how you guys were shooting in separate places due to budgets. Label kind of took a little bit of offense to that. There's been some changes at the label over the past couple of years. Everything's still good with the band and the label and everything. Is that just a one off?
well, like anything. You have your days, you have your moments, and that was an unnecessary jab. I wasn't throwing anybody under the bus, but the bottom line was it was too expensive to get me to Sweden, to get me with the guys. Way more expensive to get them all here, so we had to do things
Yeah.
remotely. And all I was doing is saying, I was mainly just pointing out the fact that because we have today's technology, we're still able to do that kind of stuff. Especially during the pandemic, we were still able to create
Right.
and come up with content. We would have loved for me to be there, but financially, it's just not there. And if any label or any particular party responsible for financing something is going to say, is going to attack me for trying to say that we're able to piece it together based on budgets, of course it means they're not willing or wanting to dump multitudes of thousands of dollars for a video that's, it's a promotional tool. In the end, it comes out of our pockets anyways.
Yeah.
But they didn't want to invest. It would have cost a pretty penny to get me there, hotels and all that stuff. There was the timing. I have shows, I have things that I have a window of opportunity I can do it. And when that opportunity came up, it was just far too expensive. So we had to choose the way we did it. And I was just pointing that out per se. I wasn't attacking the label for being cheap. I wasn't saying you guys weren't working with us, and we were all working together trying to find a window that made sense, and it just didn't work out this time. And that's all that was.
And now it had been 4 years since the last Wet record, but it's also been three since your last solo record. You did the last two with Alessandro Del Vecchio, again, no longer with the label, but any ideas on when we'll see another solo record from you?
They reached out to me at the end of 22 saying it's time to start thinking about and discussing the next JSS album. Haven't heard a word about it since. I'm so busy already, and and we've had this discussion so many times about me spreading myself too thin. I'm here, there, and everywhere. And you start getting to the point like, oh, another album from Jeff's coming out. 3 months later, another album. So it feels good to kind of step back anyway. Whether it's timing on their end or lack of interest, whatever the situation is, the reason why there's not a new album in the can now yet, I'm actually enjoying it because especially an album like Wet, you get a chance to kind of breathe from the Wet side of things a little bit. And when it comes out, or when you even hear that it's coming out, you're excited again, as opposed to just doing another album every year, same cycle, same cycle. This gives me a chance to kind of step back, and the next album I can truly make special. So
And
when it happens, it happens.
well, and like you said, you have been really busy. I mean, last year was Art of Anarchy. A couple years back was the Ellison Soto record, which I loved.
And a new Ellison Soto album's coming out in May. So just right on the cusp of new Wet, another Ellison Soto. So yeah, if I'm doing so much that they all have to come out within months of each other, not only is there no break from people who listen to me, they're like, oh my God, enough. Jeff, take a break. Now I'm actually giving myself a break. I'm let them release what's ready to get out there right now, but I'm actually focusing more on getting the live stuff. All over the world doing all that kind of stuff again this year. Not necessarily a solo. This year, I'm just focusing on appearances. I'm singing with the Prague Philharmonic again, like I did a couple years ago, or maybe it was last year. I don't even know. I'm so busy. And we're doing 2 shows in Vienna, Rock the Opera. I'm doing more stuff in Indonesia with the Dewa 19 band. So I'm doing mostly appearances this year. A lot of Beeler Soto things. But I'm not doing a tour to promote any particular album. It's impossible to do a wet tour because Eclipse are always so busy touring and promoting their records and their careers. And it makes sense, they should be, that's their number one thing. That's their day job. And I can't expect anybody to put that aside for any of our projects as much as they can't expect me to do it. And that's one of the reasons why we don't tour.
And now you mentioned the Soto Beeler dates. I assume we'll have another spring run coming up, because if anyone hasn't seen that show, that is the most fun you will have at a concert at any show this year.
Yeah.
Will you guys be doing another run again?
We're doing we're weekend warrior stuff with that at the moment, and we get it and take it where we can. But for the most part, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I have such a blast with Jason because it's one of those things you don't really have to think about. You just do it, and it's so organic, and the humor is natural, the wit, the banter, everything is just, it's basically you're just watching how we interact with each other when we hang out. And it's amazing that we get away with doing that in a concert setting where people aren't just screaming, "Stop talking and play more music." It's more like they're saying, "Stop playing music and talk more."
It's a comedy show at a concert all in one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've been spending some time here with Jeff Scott Soto. The band is W.E.T. The record is called Apex. It is out everywhere March 28th. It's just another great W.E.T. record. Hopefully we'll catch you back here in the Northeast with Soto Beeler coming up. We usually get you in the spring. So definitely look forward to that. And just thank you so much. I appreciate the time as always.
Add one more thing.
Yep.
Just one more pat on the back. I already given Eric his kudos, but looking at the album over your shoulder, Talisman Life album, having Jamie Borger on drums on this new album it's almost like coming home. And I don't want to get sappy about it or emotional about it, but the first album, we had Marcel Jacob in the videos with us. Even though it wasn't on the record, he was there to help me represent the Talisman side of things. On this new album, having Jamie help me represent the Talisman side of things is so important to me. And those guys duped me. They pulled the wool over my eyes on this one. Because when Eric sends me the songs and when I'm singing them, I'm always singing to working drums. They're always drum loops or programs that you have today that you can create and make your songs that you replace later with real drums. But I'm so used to the productions that I get when I'm singing everything, and then it goes away until I actually hear the mixes. So when Eric sent me the entire album, listen up and down, make notes if you want anything changed. The first thing I noticed, like, man, Robin Beck sounds different on this record. It doesn't sound like his normal drumming. And as the songs continue to play, I'm like, I wrote to Eric immediately, like 4 songs in, I go, is this Robin on drums? And he said, nope, I'll give you 2 more guesses. I only needed 1 more because the first thing I thought, this sounds like Jamie. I said, is Jamie on this record? He goes, yep, we wanted to surprise you. They didn't tell me when he tracked the record. They told me after it was mixed. Of course, they knew I'd be happy about it. But I'm so thrilled to have Jamie alongside me on this record because you hear the Talisman vibe together now. You hear that rhythm section and my voice, and where a song might sound like a Talisman song, it even more so does because you truly have that nucleus of that sound. So I'm kudos to Eric for pulling that, pulling the wool over my eyes, and I'm just so thrilled to have this new album really truly representing why this band even exists.
And again, I think having Jamie there too leads a little more into that heavier sound because, like you said, I mean, it does pull in a lot of the Talisman stuff, which is really
absolutely
cool.
Which is crazy. And I've said this in other interviews. Jamie musically comes from a very pop world. His influences are from the Sweet to Don Henley to Eagles to Bryan Adams. Peter Cetera, Chicago, Richard Marx, he loves that side of music more so than the rock side of things. But when he plays rock, there's something
Yeah.
really cool. I guess it's kind of the same way as I always listen to R&B and soul music growing up. When I sing rock, you still hear a lot of that influence drawn in and pulled into the songs that I'm doing. Jamie has a way of making that solid that groove and that playing for the song, not playing to be notice me kind of drummer. But every once in a while you get those moments and that's where you know it's Jamie Borger.
Yeah. And to say, I highly recommend the record. You guys get better with everyone in
Thank
Apex.
you,
I mean,
sir.
it's aptly named. It's a great record. So,
Thank you,
best of
my
luck,
friend.
my friend, and we will catch you on the road with Beeler coming up soon.
All right, Jeff.
You got it. Thank you.
You got it.